So misinformation, yes, but it is not from the public. It is actually coming from, from the government's end. The what is that? These are out of focus images. These are birds and so on and so forth. And these are of course scientific opinions, published in certain, journals very recently, respected journals.
Hello and welcome to the Geek YouTube channel. Space, life outside Earth, extraterrestrial intelligence are all topics that have fascinated us all time. And more so over the past few days, thanks to the US declassifying its UFO files in June. Today we have with us Pushkar Ganesh Vaidya, a leading global scientist and philosopher in astrobiology. Pushkar heads the Indian Astrobiology Research Center and is the founder director of Indian Astrobiology Research Foundation. He has authored several books and wrote courses in the field of space science, humanitarian action, and climate action. Thank you, Pushkar, for taking out time and welcome to the interview.
Yes, hello Anita. Thank you for having me on the show.
So first things first, so recently I told my friend that I'm going to be interviewing an astrobiologist. And the first question he asked me was like, does that mean he has an alien in his lab? So that's when I realized how nascent the field is, or the understanding of the field is. So, so Pushkar, can you shed some light on the field of astrobiology to start with, and what is the scope of astrobiology, especially in India?
Oh, well, sure. So, sure, Anita. Yes. So, astrobiology is, is the most exciting field of, of science in the modern era. Its scope, the span is absolutely fantastic. The name, sort of came around in the late 90s, this name of astrobiology, so it would have other names before that. It would be called as exobiology and so on. So, of course, people were doing what we now call as astrobiology, for over 100 years. But, well, this modern term has come in only the late 90s. So it is basically, not exobiology or space biology. So we say astrobiology. So basically, biology in the context of astronomy is one way to look at it. And it deals with some, so it has a very simple definition in the sense that, we are looking at the, let's say, the study of life, its evolution, its distribution across the universe. And that's what makes it, entirely, a different ball game, because now your scope is so wide that you have to like open your minds, for certain possibilities. And this subject has been around, yeah, as I said, only recently it has, picked up, steam in the mainstream science community, primarily because that, some of the tools were not exactly, in place, even though the thoughts were in place. So I mean, we had this, we did not have space missions like Kepler, for example. So it took some time, but now, now we are in the go.
Okay, and with respect to India, how nascent is it, or what is the understanding among people in India about this?
Yeah, so in India, it is really, really like, I think it is yet to born in a way. So apart from us, we started somewhere around 2006, so but we are there from a research perspective, so we have been doing research in astrobiology. But I believe, your question perhaps more indicating towards the academic part of it, like can you study? So in that case, the answer is that, well, almost nothing there. And I think there is something offered by MIT. I think there's something by Savitribai Phule University. I think once there was some Abdul Kalam University and so on, but nothing that you can call serious. And it is not possible either for this to change in near future, because for it to become, anything different than what it is right now, you require departments in universities, like you have a department for physics, for chemistry and so on. And this particular subject is far away from reaching that sort of, let's say, framework. And perhaps that framework is not even going to be possible because of the sheer width and span of the subject.
Oh, okay, oh, okay, understood. So, let's move on to a more interesting question of,
Sure.
um, do you think UFOs are scientific phenomena?
Yes, I mean, See, in astrobiology, when we say, we are studying life in a universal context, it does include something called as SETI, or the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It's a very much a part of astrobiology. I must point out that about a decade or two ago, that absolutely brilliant Michael Crichton, the guy who wrote Jurassic Park, he had given this very famous lecture, that SETI is sort of a religion, because we are looking for alien life with no evidence of it existing whatsoever. So in a way, it was faith, and it was a very it was a very very clinical sort of criticism, and I think it was just brilliant. I'm pointing this out because that it is not about not being open to possibilities, but being very careful that what does it even mean. So, but is it science? The question is that, and the whole part of the science is that, well, SETI is supposed to be based on certain principles that we look for life outside Earth. Maybe it's radio signals or whatever we do. There's a certain aspect of SETI is called as artifact SETI, which is a scientific way of saying that, we are looking for alien objects on moons and Mars. And, it's just that it gets this academic respect when I, say it that way, artifact SETI. But the fact of the matter is that if we believe it is okay, if it's all right to look for aliens, for extraterrestrial life outside of Earth, then why the hell do we have a problem if they are here? I mean, we didn't, we don't have some sort of, they don't have an RT-PCR to get here, right? So therefore, it is the exact search we are doing any which ways. The problem is, instead of, we going and looking for them, there is a phenomenon which is suggesting that they might just be right here. So the UFO phenomena is squarely within the mainstream scientific framework. Can it be investigated through that way? Now, that's a different story. But is it a part of science? Well, absolutely.
Okay, got it, got it. And because since the topic generates a lot of interest, it is difficult to distinguish between what is going on and what is actually not going on. Like there is a rush to come to conclusions or to paint all scientific or all unidentified phenomena under one brush. So, how important is it to tackle the issue of misinformation with respect to unidentified alien phenomena or UAP?
Right. So, see, Anita, the way I look at the subject, is that UFOs per se have been reported, in their exact very form, as in the recent Pentagon report, for at least now 75 odd years, if not more. So it is not something which has started today. It has started before I was born, and it has been around for a long, long time. The criticism which we see today of the very report has been the same criticism that has been around, and I'm talking by mainstream scientists and by skeptics. And is a good word in science, just to clarify. But the fact of the matter is, I believe that it is time for them to at least give us a bit of a that the scientific community rather owes a bit of an apology to the people who have been rigorously going after the little bit of UFO investigations, let's say facing all the ridicule and mockery coming from the academia. Because the thing is that misinformation, yes, but whose misinformation? I mean, there were people who were looking at something, they said something is there, and the academia, this is community and over, and they said no, it's not there, and everybody was mocked. So misinformation, yes, but it is not from the public. It is actually coming from from the governments and the world governments, and it is being not exactly, let's say, tackled head on by the academia nor the research community. And now, what are you going to do, Anita? Because you have these 144 investigations with 143 sightings unknown. And your line basically is that these are, what is that? These are out of focus images. These are birds and so on and so forth. And these are of course scientific opinions, published in certain journals very recently, respected journals. I don't want to name them. But now thereafter, if you look at it, well, if that's the case, then and they say at the same time, that this might be a national security issue. Yes, so I do think it's a national security issue, but of a very different nature. because here you have scientists from across the world, especially from the US, saying that and you can just refer to any of the the journals and so on, and just before the report came in, that these are possibly out of focus images and birds and so on. So there is a national security issue, Anita, because they are actually telling us that the US Department of Defense has spent around $20 odd million over 10 odd years investigating birds and out of focus images. Well, their premier agency has a big problem, and yes, they do have a national security issue, but it's nothing to do with the UFOs. It's with them in that case. It's just ridiculous, if not hilarious for that matter.
Right,
So.
right. So, what do you propose should be the way forward? Now that it's a huge development coming from the US in classifying the files. So, what do you propose to be the way forward for governments and agencies around the world?
Right. So, see, I'm personally, I've been so we have been into mainstream, by which I mean, that if you find out that it's not a good idea to be to be having a chat with you that we are going to investigate UFOs. It does problem. So around 25 years ago, I know I'd written this book In Search of Aliens. Put some UFO cases, but then I was pretty pretty brash, I believe. So over the time when we have checked this, the thing is that when I look at the subject over almost over 2 to 3 decades, there is a problem. It seems to be a systemic issue, a thought issue, and I believe it's a cultural issue that after so many years, you're just still asking, do are they there or not? No, they were there, and just because the Pentagon something says, they just don't start to exist because of that. And it's a it's a global phenomenon. One of them was supposed to be over the residence of our own prime minister, back in 2018. The answer is rather simple. That very recently, we have set up a center for center of excellence for exactly this reason. We need to define an entirely new global agenda. The way the UFO subject has been investigated, researched, that is all gone. It has all it's just over. It's time to set up a new agenda altogether in the light of the new findings and new admissions. And that's what we intend to do, to set a global agenda.
Okay, which brings me to the next question, which is your organization. Let's talk about your organization. What is new at IARF? Could you shed some light on its latest initiatives?
Yes, so we started somewhere around 2006, and the idea was to work in astrobiology, so that this subject was more or less unheard of then, but only in recent times, especially certain successes of certain missions, like let's say Kepler and certain landings on Mars. Then of course ISRO getting into the act and getting the Chandrayaan Mangalan, all those things happening. There is a public interest, and we have a lot of findings about various things happening. So what it has done is that we have existed always, but we are now able to let's say come contribute in the public discourse. So primarily we are into theoretical research, looking at stuff like the possibilities of life coming from outside, for example, panspermia, looking at terraforming of, let's say, Mars or Venus. In fact, we do have a space mission, actually a planned one. Hopefully by 2025 we can have it out. It's called as Bijayan Cosmos, where we plan to send a nano spacecraft to the low Earth orbit and pick up some cometary dust and see how that what it tells us, that is life coming from outside. So apart from that, we have been mostly into theoretical work around various issues in astrobiology, because anything apart from that, it's a piggyback science. So you don't set out a mission for necessarily for astrobiology. If you have radio data, I can use that data for astrobiology. So that's what we have been doing, and only recently, and by which I mean just about 2 weeks ago, that we set up this center of excellence for UFOs.
Okay, and you spoke about database, setting up a database for UFOs and UFO findings in India. Can you talk more about this?
Oh, all right. So this IRF Center of Excellence for UFOs. So what we intend to do is we have just issued a position statement just a while ago, actually, that we need to look at this particular phenomena not as a not as an academic issue, because it is not anymore. It's an issue which is global, and it's an issue which is going to affect the public. It's going to affect you and me. It has nothing to do with something being academic or research, because they seem to be going everywhere without any permission. So it's a socio-scientific issue, and the public discourse and debate is extremely important. The involvement, that what are we dealing with? We don't want people to go around doing ufology in their graduation and all that. That's hardly the intention. But yes, the public involvement is required, and it has to go beyond this thing of I mean, what are they, and do we have to fear, and all that stuff? Because see, Anita, we are, as we have this, is this a security issue? Is this what issue? I think it's only a social scientific issue, and I mean, what are we going to do in case just one of them decides to land at, at the Raj Bhavan? What are we going to do? They might not choose the White House, for all that I know. So the thing is that who is going to speak to them, and what is the cultural depth you require to handle these conversations? And given the track record of how the academia and research have been responding to it so far, keeping all this in mind, we have issued a position statement to set an entire manifesto that how we should be going about the research. And it so happens, and that we believe that this must be led, uh, you know, or rooted rather, from a very Indian, thought process, because the culture is the best equipped, to handle this sort of a situation. And and there is no reason why, we must not attempt that. So that's what we intend to do, to set up a global agenda, along with, of course, along with all the scientists, to sort of, discuss this out, that how we are going to go about this, because the track record is not too impressive. So,
Right, right. Which brings me to the point of transparency around UFOs. Um, why do you think that, I mean, one point you said that there should be more public participation, it should be open to public. Um, wouldn't that result in kind of more fear factor coming in, fear mongering also? How do we plan to address that?
right. So see, that's why I'm saying, and that that this is a cultural issue. This is nothing to do with science, because see, when I give these workshops, I used to do this workshop called as Life in Space. So I happen to interact, with thousands of students and educators across India over a period of 2 odd years. I'll be very honest with you. Indians, we are not, we are anything but fearful about whatever aliens it might be, because from a very culture, life is everywhere. We are least bothered if they are here. We are culturally prepared to just get them over. There is no problem at all. There is no fear. We will just get them over. That is all what it is. But this is not the way, the other cultures look at it, especially the Western cultures. There is going to be no fear. I not in India, at least. That is impossible, because that's the cultural depth, and the overall, the span of thinking, over the millennia, which we inherit. And therefore this fear mongering is actually, from outside. And that's what the two things which we are starting is two things we are doing. One is that, did anybody ask you or me that, are you going to be scared? So that's the first thing we are doing. We are undertaking a global survey of how you look at it. There is, no global survey. So that's the first thing our center will do. And the second thing is that, of course, in an Indian context, we have not been necessarily good at documentation of any sightings in India. So we will be, making available a searchable database where you can, sort of, we'll get the entries submitted, and it's, available for others to, search. We might not be able to ourselves do much research into it, but it will be publicly available. And most importantly, let's ask the world: are they really worried? I don't think so. So,
Okay, okay. How do you gauge the interest in India or India's position when it comes to UFOs and such discussions? Because we see that the discourse is mainly led by the Western countries, right? So, uh, how do you see that? How do you gauge that?
so partly, of course, I mean, we are as a country, just recently coming into our own. right? So we have other things to do, and UFOs are not exactly our top priority. But now that the realities have changed post the report and all that, and of course there have been reports of the UFOs. Even the Indian armed forces have been reporting them. I think 2012, 14 somewhere, I believe. Also, we had this the Indo-Tibetan force also reporting them back to the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh. So this has been happening for a long time. So obviously, you and I won't necessarily come to know what the defense people are doing, but what you and I can know is that whatever they are doing, it's not working. Because the UFOs are doing whatever they feel like. So that is one important learning to keep in mind. And thereafter, as I said earlier, the answer is rather simple, that it is time for us to set the agenda. They're obviously good at, it's not saying that they're bad or anything, but then it has become a monotonous debate. It has become a debate full of ridicule and mockery. This is not the way we look at things. This is not our culture. And we better put up our hand and offer to lead this, not just to contribute. It is time to lead.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Pushkar.
You're welcome, Anika.
I would love to continue the conversation there deeper, but we have time constraints today,
Sure.
and it was a pleasure to host you today and have a very interesting discussion. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us.
Yeah. And thank you to you and Week to have me on the show. Yeah. Thanks, Anita. Bye bye.